While discussing the president's review of the Smithsonian museums, Jillian Michaels confronted the host who accused Trump of whitewashing slavery.
We're now literally reviewing parts of American history and parts of American culture to make sure it comports with Dear Leader and what the MAGA
Can we address
wants.
some of those things that are in there? Have you looked at some of the things that are being reviewed?
Slavery was a bad thing that was to talk about.
Okay.
Like,
he's not whitewashing slavery.
So he's not?
He's not. No,
okay.
he's not. And you cannot tie imperialism and racism and slavery to just one race, which is pretty much what every single exhibit does. But let's talk about the fact that when you
can't tie slavery.
Let's talk about the fact
that
slavery in America was.
Do you realize that only less than 2% of white Americans owned slaves?
But it was a system of white supremacy.
You realize that slavery is thousands of years old?
White people were
Do you know
the slave
who
owners.
was the first race to try to end slavery? Well, what's controversial?
I'm very surprised.
This is an extraordinary exercise in historical revisionism.
I'm really surprised.
Do you realize that?
Jillian, I'm surprised that you're trying to litigate who was the beneficiary of slavery and who was not.
What I'm trying to tell you is that
in the context of American history.
Okay.
In the context of American history, what are you saying is incorrect by
saying
that it was white people?
Every single thing is like, oh, no, this is all because white people bad. And that's just not the truth.
And then you have those who are asking for reparations for colonialism, and they're wondering, $100 billion, $24 billion here and there, 500 million there. Some people want to be paid back, and members of the public are wondering, why are we suffering when you are, you have all of this vast wealth? Those are legitimate concerns.
Well, I think you're right about reparations in terms of if people want it, though, what they need to do is you always need to go back to the beginning of a supply chain. Where was the beginning of the supply chain? That was in Africa, and across the entire world, when the slavery was taking place, which was the first nation in the world that abolished slavery? The first nation in the world to abolish it. It was started by William Wilberforce, was the British. In Great Britain, they abolished slavery. 2,000 naval men died on the high seas trying to stop slavery. Why? Because the African kings were rounding up their own people. They had them on cages waiting in the beaches. No one was running into Africa to get them. And I think you're totally right. If reparations need to be paid, we need to go right back to the beginning of that supply chain and say who was rounding up their own people and having them handcuffed in cages. Absolutely. That's where they should start. And maybe, I don't know, the descendants of those families where they died in the high seas trying to stop the slavery, that those families should receive something too, I think, at the same time.
The real history of what Western Africa was like before white people got there, and I'm speaking as a half-black man, and I know I'm going to get loads of hate from this, how bad South Africa was before white people got there, and how the slave trade worked, and how the slave trade in the United States was able to bring over so many African men, my ancestors, to that continent. And history today teaches you that evil white people went over to Western Africa, shot people and captured people and won these fights and got all these black people and put them on boats and moved them across to America. And the white man's the evilest person ever. And it's always been a narrative I've never been 100% comfortable with. And I'm not going to say everything I know here because I can talk on the subject now for 2 or 3 hours. But I would encourage people to look into what the slave trade really was and how it really happened and how it was so easy to do. And I'll give you a thought experiment. You're quite a fit, athletic young man. 23 years of age, okay? Imagine you are a British sailor, okay? Same build you are now. You've been sailing for 3 months on this little wooden ship, eating nothing but hardtack. You got scurvy, you're sick, you're malnutrition, okay? We put you on the coast of Africa. It's 49 degrees, okay? You're in a thick red cotton jacket, and I give you a musket, a gun, a weapon of death. And I say, okay, here we are. I want you and the 60 other men on this boat to go and catch 300 of these big black African dudes from 20 miles inland, but you're not allowed to shoot them. No, you have to get them on the boat without hurting them. Somehow. You think you could pull that off? Me, you, the people in this room? 0% chance. I know you're not allowed to say it because you're whiter than me. You're not mixed race. You can't say, oh, that doesn't make sense.
I think I have an idea of who could pull it off.
Yeah, but exactly. All the other black people who had all these wars with each other and were waiting on the beach with all their fellow Africans saying, here, take them, give us some more guns, we'll win the next war. Easy, boom, shoot half of them, capture half of them. And the slave trade just worked like this.